Word. So this is a throwback Thursday edition here. This is a often forgotten triceps exercise. It's one of those things where we think back to the Arnold book that we all had, and this one comes from that, and you kind of think to yourself like, you know, there was something good I got out of that. Now, why did I be such a big fan of this exercise? You'll notice that I have wraps on my elbows. This video was actually taken in July of 2012, and at that time, still honestly now, my elbow tendonitis continues to be a nagging thing that I have going on. So that will just kind of mess with me. And it's like, what are a way that you can put a different line of pull on the triceps and the elbow, right? So it's like with a traditional exercise where it's coming in front of your body, again, that's going to put a different stress. Same thing versus going an incline, a decline, a flat, one arm, two arm. Like, you really just have to experiment. I found myself like, you know, skull crushers and those variants that often crush people's elbows. I've personally found that if I do them on an incline, I usually can get away with things more. Most people talk about a decline. For me personally, that makes it feel worse. But a lot of people I know are fans of the decline. So this exercise, seated triceps press down, I got 300 pounds on that stack, all kinds of weight tacked on the top and a plate on it as well. You'll notice that I have the front of this seat that I'm sitting on weighted down with weight plates. And that's obviously to prevent the common thing that would happen is the whole seat would want to flip backwards. So I needed to have something that I could push my legs down on and not have this seat go all the way on me. So like I said, there's a lot of moving parts in this little addition here. And what you'll notice, again, that's kind of one tip. If you have a bench that keeps sliding on you, find a way to weight that down. And obviously you need to find a way to do it where your feet are not in the way. So in this case, where the plates are not in the way of where your feet need to go. So in this case, you'll notice the plates flanked out on the little like areas where this would normally be screwed down to the floor, this seated bench here. Whereas if those plates were tilted up where my feet were supposed to go, just wouldn't allow me to get good stable foot positioning and carry this exercise out correctly. So here you'll notice I did 2 sets of about 8 to 9 reps. I think one I almost locked out the 9th one, and then the other set wasn't going to let it get the best of me, so got a full 9. And then you'll notice that I follow it up with a one-arm cable triceps negative, and again, seated, because I tended to find that if I did this standing with a cable press down, that I had to put so much body momentum into it to just simply get the weight into position that I'm basically like fighting my body lifting off the ground and things, whereas in this case, by sitting down, it allows me to, I guess, better take advantage of my body weight to hold me down. And this is something that I found as you get lighter during contest prep mode, even the one-arm negative variant or the two-arm normal press down, you would find that the weight stack would want to pull you back up. Obviously, I know I'm using a pretty appreciable amount of weight here, but I would still think anyone that's using a weight somewhere in the vicinity of their body weight is probably going to deal with that problem. So again, ways to counteract that, obviously, or in this case, by sitting down and then obviously weighting down the bench accordingly. Now, these negative press downs, you'll notice how slow I do them. That is somewhat intentional, but as I've talked before on the Muscle Science Application podcast, it's not even so much so critical that you do your eccentric overload movements with a super slow movement. It's more that you're handling a weight that's heavier than you can actually do concentrically. So I think that here I had 160 or 170 pounds on one arm. Now you'll notice I just did 300 pounds two arm. So obviously, clearly, I'm going to be handling half at most, but obviously not that. I think most of us are weaker when we go to one arm, weaker than what half the weight would be with two. So then obviously, but by me handling 160, 170, that shows you that for an eccentric, clearly I can handle additional weight, so I take advantage of that. If I were doing this today, you would see those eccentrics go probably about 1.5 to 2 times as fast, and maybe shooting even for a little more reps. Again, on something that's a little bit risky, a little bit sketchy to set up, I'd probably, as I've talked before, would only limit to 3 or 4 reps on an eccentric overload set. But it's something like this, pretty safe, sitting down, cable movement. I can see this going up to 6, 7, 8 reps on an eccentric movement if you want. But again, in this case, a typical triceps workout would be, like I said, a couple hard working sets of this to failure, and then I'd kind of chase it or finish it up with a set of these eccentric overload reps. And then usually when I finish this, I would do, many of you are probably familiar with DC training, dog crap training, like an extreme triceps stretch. I'm actually going to go ahead and insert video here. This was video taken more recently in 2014 of me doing like an extreme tricep stretch. Different philosophies on this. Some people, look at the old studies done on birds and things where it's a, constant stretch and they get crazy hypertrophy. So I mean, that's one potential benefit you could get for something like this. But more so for me, I just simply found, a lot of us, we get kind of tight and bound up. By the time I get that arm up over my head, if I were to do this stretch like normally, right, and pushing down on my elbow to stretch my triceps, I just wouldn't be able to I feel like exert enough force on my elbow to really get an effective stretch. So I'll do variants with a band. I'll insert video of that right here too. Or again, I'll do it weighted where I'm having the dumbbell hanging behind my head. Either way, great stretch, great way to finish off the tris. I'll usually also insert some foam rolling with my recover roller. So it'll go working sets, eccentric overload, roll out the tris, and then finish it with that nice long heavy stretch. And that would be a typical isolation triceps day. Usually something like this would probably be preceded by shoulder pressing, then this, and then some other just kind of more accessory movements. But that's all we got for this one. Again, seated triceps press downs. Used to be talked about in the Arnold book, and then kind of lost. You can also do this with an incline bench. So an incline bench with its back to the cable stack, just on a very, very steep incline, also works really well too. And experiment with attachments, experiment with angles. Again, find something that's comfortable on the elbows, and a great way to handle some pretty heavy weight. And again, not be fighting the weight quite as much as you would maybe when you're doing something standing and trying to, stack it or go even further and the weight's pulling you off the ground.